Hey everybody, it is Winter Butte, and I want to talk about a stereotype that pops up in movies and really just in life in general that really rubs me the wrong way. And it comes from and I just watched the Suicide Squad. The second one, The Suicide Squad, and it was a good movie in so many ways. But as I was watching it, I'm like, I can already see again a lot of these same complaints that I heard about the first one when it came to a particular character, and then Birds of Prey when it came to a particular character. And I keep hearing these. But anyway, it's this notion of Harley Quinn and her character. You know, she's a very small-framed, very light, woman, and she's running around, beating the crap out of, men who are twice her size and supposed to be badass thugs and all this other stuff, and that sort of motif, but that's not the problem. The problem are the slovenly, overweight, Mountain Dew drinking movie critics who want to sit there and say, "That's impossible. How could she kick the crap out of a guy like that?" And that's my problem. Look, you've never been in a real fight. Don't kid yourself. Don't kid, you want to lie to yourself about your physical capabilities and then judge others. You're full of shit. I just get I'm so disgusted by this. Now I know that the vast majority, well, pretty much everybody thinks they're a bigger badass than they really are. Everybody falls into this trap, me included, and I'm aware of it better than most people, but I still fall into this trap of thinking I'm more competent than I really am when it comes to my physical capabilities. But when you've never been in a real fight and you have zero training, and then you think you're gonna critique a combat situation that happens in a movie for being unrealistic, man, shut up. And I really mean that. Just shut up. You have it's like me trying to talk about the minutia of how nuclear power plants work. There's a certain point where you need to realize you just need to shut up. Because you're not really qualified to be talking about this. You're just not, okay? And you have and not to mention the fact that you're not qualified to be talking about it, is there is more than enough evidence out there to show how your statement that somebody with the size and physique of Harley Quinn cannot possibly go toe-to-toe with a guy twice her size who is a badass thug type. You're just so wrong. You're so wrong. Now, why can I talk about this? People who watch my channel and listen to me rant at times will know that I was in law enforcement for 10 years. Now, that's not, now law enforcement defensive tactics, I'm very critical of. I think they're very weak. They're the bare basics. Really, and I would always suggest that any law enforcement officer or corrections officer, or whatever the case is, take take more training beyond what they give you at the academy. What they give you at the academy and what you may get refreshed on each year is not enough. I took some Taekwondo when I was younger. I don't particularly care for Taekwondo. I'm not going to get into the difference between styles. That's a whole other video. But the best thing I ever did for myself was I took about a year of Krav Maga. Several years into my career, and that was the best thing I ever did for myself. A lot of things clicked, but anyway, that's my background. Now at one point I did give serious. I'm competent enough, and I know I'm competent enough that I seriously considered becoming a defensive tactics instructor for my department, and then possibly for the academy. I do have that level of background. But I, you know, I'll be honest, because of my background, if I have to deal with knowing their backgrounds, if you give me some run-of-the-mill thug, who or Harley Quinn, the character Harley Quinn, I'm scared shitless of Harley Quinn, versus the thug who could be a little more reticent about fighting me because he doesn't know what I'm. Harley Quinn has no reservations about taking on anybody around her. None. That's what makes her dangerous. Because I'm going to tell you something, and this is what I realized over the years, and it didn't take me long to realize this. The ability to hurt someone, the capability of inflicting damage because of size or armament or whatever the case is nothing compared to the willingness and the desire to hurt somebody. I'm far more worried about dealing with someone who wants to hurt me with a passion than somebody who is twice the other person's size and is capable of who in theory is capable of dealing far more damage. Because when it comes to, I'll tell you this, you know, and to touch on this real quick, people like to compare, oh, this style of martial art is better than this style of martial art, or this style of fighting is better than this style of fighting, or whatever the case is. And I'm going to tell you right now, 90% of that is bullshit. Maybe 80% of that is bullshit, because there are differences between styles, and I do favor certain styles and certain mentalities when it comes to fighting, and I would back them up with you know, rational arguments based in with empirical evidence. But when it comes to a real fight, it's really all about the person. It's all about the individual and what that individual is capable of and is willing to allow themselves to be capable of. That's really what matters. It's about the person. And you can take somebody like Harley Quinn, who is such reckless abandon in her own mind that there is no hesitation to she doesn't pull punches. There is no hesitation when she fights, and that's the difference. That's why she can take down, you know. And there is, I will spoil one scene in the new movie. It's a good scene. It's a funny scene, and I like it. But you know, she's walking down the hallway. So yeah, maybe fast forward 2 minutes or something. She's walking down the hallway. She's got 2 rifles in her hand, assault rifles in her hands, and she's just walking down the hallway. And an entire 24 soldiers are coming down the hallway. They've got their own guns at the ready and all that. And then they see her, and there's that moment. There's that moment of, oh crap. Harley Quinn doesn't have that moment. She drops those guns and she pulls the trigger. Those soldiers go, oh shit, we're dealing with somebody who's really fucked up. We got to take cover, and they're already dead. They're already dead. She's already gunning them down. And now that's a gunfight that I'm using that as an example. But the fact that she has no hesitation to throw a punch, to grab any object around her that she can use as a weapon and stab you in the face with it. The fact that she has no hesitation. She just does it. She just rolls from one thing to the next thing and just is this constant tidal wave of attack. Yeah, absolutely, she can take out a guy, several guys twice her size. Several, without a doubt. I have no doubt that's within the realm of possibility. Okay, now there's a difference between possibility and probability. Okay, and that, you know, we can get into, okay, now the second she runs into a very competent, you know, hero on her level or villain on her level that she has to go against, well, suddenly things change a little bit. The factors that go into change. But again, even in the real world, okay, now I'm using comic book characters, But I hear this argument a lot from this particular character. Like, she can't really take down that guy. Like, you don't understand. That guy is used to using his size just to intimidate people into compliance. And I know people like this. I know people like this who are used to just being able to intimidate. They've really never been in a real fight. They're just used to people being afraid of them because they're massive, or they're intimidating, or they've got a deep booming voice, or they fill a certain stereotype. Oh man, don't mess with that guy. I mean, he's not really like that. He just knows that he can get away with shit and nobody's going to really challenge him. Not even a bully per se, just somebody who, you know, has never ever been in a position where they had to get into a real fight because people don't want to mess with him. But the fact is, he's probably got he probably knows he's got a glass jaw, and he's like, I don't want to mess with these. I don't want to get into a real fight. Because here's the thing: the vast majority of people in America today, and probably most of the world, have never been in a real fight. They've never just been punched in the face. I have. And you know what happens to most people when they get punched in the face and they've never experienced it before? They just crumple. It doesn't mean that they're less of a person. They just don't know how to deal with it. Okay? So, you know, even, you know, you get the, you know, even some street thugs, you know, they're thugs because they're big and intimidating. Do I think somebody like a whirling dervish like Harley Quinn could show up and just beat the fuck out of these guys and keep on moving like nothing happened? Yeah, absolutely, that could happen. Yeah. Now, of course, Harley Quinn is on an extreme level, but again, it goes back to this notion that, oh, you know, women can't really fight guys, and there's no way women can you know, really be a real thing. Look, I'll be honest with you right now. If you hold that mentality that women aren't really a threat, oh my God, you are in so much danger. Especially if you're in law enforcement and you don't think, and you dismiss every woman you come across as not, well, she's just a woman, she can't really hurt me. My God, you really need to check yourself. There was another great video that was out there on Shadiversity. I'll put a link in the description below, where he talks about a big talk show host who was complaining about some scenes in the recent Witcher Netflix series where there's a woman warrior who is just out there with, you know, shoulder to shoulder with guys and with a sword wailing on other bad guys, and he goes, this just isn't realistic. That's not how, women can't do that. Women can't really use a sword like that, and women can't really sword fight and go toe to toe with your average guy. Shadiversity is a channel dedicated to medieval realism. And what was medieval life really like? And more specifically, well, one of the big subtopics he talks about is what was medieval combat really like? And he does some awesome videos where he explains, you know, here's swordplay in the movies, but here's real life swordplay. And he talks about this talk show host saying that that's an unrealistic thing, and he goes, not only are you wrong, I'm going to show you how wrong you are. And I won't go into the details, but he goes into a very, very detailed description of how that is wrong, how the sword was the great equalizer way before the gun, and how it is perfectly plausible today in medieval martial art championships that men and women are in the same, literally in the same category with each other. There is no gender difference between the categories. Men and women fight each other all the time. Great video. But again, that also, you know, dispels a lot of these notions that, oh, that's unrealistic. That little tiny little girl could be dangerous to a guy twice her size. Absolutely, she can be. But again, again, I said before, it goes back to it's more about the person than it is about the style or their capabilities or their training. It's more about the person. And women are just as capable of men in a combat situation at the high end. Okay. Now there obviously are gender differences. Women are less likely. I'm not stereotyping. I'm saying less likely to want to resolve physical conflicts physically. That doesn't mean that doesn't happen, and that can't happen, and that it isn't plausible that it could happen. It is perfectly plausible. We're talking about a spectrum of possibility, and I'm putting men and women on the exact same spectrum. Yeah, men tend to be a little more physical. Women tend to not be a little more physical when resolving problems. Obviously, men by default have, you know, usually have more body strength in general. Though I'll be honest, I was known for being able to handle myself in a fight, but are there women who are my build that are physically stronger than me? Absolutely. I worked with them. And these weren't hulking brutes. I'm not a big guy, and I've always struggled to put on muscle weight. But that didn't stop me from being able to do it. Yet there are women who are my size or smaller that I guarantee you are physically stronger than me. Because for whatever, now I know with hindsight, I had some sort of medical issue resolving around my muscles. But I really struggled to put on muscle weight. So, you know, this notion that, but again, most guys tend to be physically stronger than women. But the end capability, the end result of beating your opponent, which is the end goal, that doesn't change the fact that a woman can reach that goal just like a guy can, and that a woman is just as capable in physical combat as a guy is at the high end, even if the curve is lower on the kind of spectrum that I'm talking about. So you gotta get rid of that stupid, archaic, unjustified mentality. Okay, it's not about the gender or being a woman. It's about the person. Okay, now there are plenty of women I know that I would never want to see in a combat situation. They're just not wired for that. There are plenty of men I know that are not wired to be in a fight or a combat situation. There's nothing wrong with that. They're just not wired that way. But the men are still expected to be more able to handle themselves in that situation, and that's more dangerous because they're getting in over their heads. Yet we still have that mentality, and that whole thing is a problem. You got to just get rid of it. You just got to get rid of it, and you got to look at the individual and what that individual is capable of at the end of the day. Okay, it's as simple as that. I mean, and there is more than enough empirical evidence to show that that's the case. Okay, I could go on for way longer than I am right now about some of that and specific situations, but I'm not going to. But this just really rubbed me the wrong way again, so I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to go off on a rant about it, and so yeah, that's my 2 cents on the topic. Winter mute out.